Have you ever felt like you're speaking, but no one hears you? You're in a room full of people, yet somehow you're the one they forget to acknowledge. They remember everyone's name except yours. They talk over you mid-sentence as if your thoughts are just background noise. They ask for your help, take your energy, lean on your kindness, and then vanish like you were never there at all. They praise your generosity. They admire your patience. But somehow they don't respect you. Why? This isn't just a social problem. It's not just about rude people or bad luck. It's something deeper, something most of us are afraid to admit. You are being disrespected because you have forgotten how to respect yourself. Now, I know that's hard to hear, but stay with me because this video isn't about blaming you, it's about awakening you. You see, maybe you're the person who's always available, the one who never says no, the one who agrees even when you're exhausted, who stays quiet to keep the peace, who forgives even when no one says sorry. And what do you get in return? Silence, disregard, contempt, indifference. And the most painful part, you know deep down you're not being respected, but you don't know how to make it stop. Why you keep accepting what hurts you. You keep hoping that if you're kind enough, patient enough, helpful enough, people will finally see your worth. But that day never comes, does it? Carl Jung once said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And maybe that's the root of it all, because respecting yourself requires something frightening. Looking in the mirror and realizing that you have a role in this, that you have been participating in your own invisibility. As long as you keep betraying yourself to gain acceptance, others will continue to reflect that betrayal right back to you. This video won't hand you scripts to recite or ask you to fake confidence. It's not about pretending you're strong. It's about understanding why you feel so small. It's about facing the uncomfortable truth you've been avoiding because no one else could say it to you. Until now, if you're tired of being disrespected by your friends, your family, your partner, your boss, then it's time to go deeper. We're going to explore the inner landscape of your emotional life through the lens of Carl Jung's deep psychology. Why you tolerate the intolerable, why you keep giving until you break, and how you can finally change this at the root. Because until you stop abandoning yourself, no one will ever treat you with dignity. The world around you is not what it seems. Do you really think people treat you poorly just because they're selfish, because they're cold, because they're bad? Maybe, but here's something even harder to swallow. What if they're just reacting to how you show up? Or worse, how you don't? Because when you stay silent while being disrespected, when you smile while being dismissed, when you tolerate being ignored, mocked, or used, you're not just accepting that treatment. You're communicating something to the world. This is how I see myself. This is what I allow. This is what I believe I deserve. Jung's mirror, your reality is a reflection. Carl Jung believed that your external life, your circumstances, relationship struggles, is a mirror of your unconscious mind. That means the pain you keep attracting, the neglect, the rejection, the subtle abuse, is not random. It's a projection. It mirrors how you relate to the rejected parts of yourself. That's the part no one talks about, the part most people avoid. But you're here now, you're listening. That means you're ready because as long as you don't recognize your own worth, the image you send into the world will be distorted, fragile, insecure, unsure. And that's the image people will respond to. People don't see who you are. They see who you show them. This is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Maybe you were taught as a child that being good meant being quiet, that love meant obedience, that kindness meant giving until it hurt. And now those childhood beliefs have followed you into adulthood. They've become silent scripts operating in the background of every relationship, every yes you didn't mean. You've learned that your value is something others get to decide. That validation must be earned. That being easy to love means being easy to use. But here's what no one told you. The more you contort yourself for acceptance, the more invisible you become. It's not because people are blind. It's because they're watching you treat yourself like you don't matter, and they follow your lead. Breaking the cycle begins with consciousness. You can change cities. You can switch rise. You can leave a relationship, but the pattern will follow you because the pattern lives inside you. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe you deserve, even when that belief is buried so deep you've forgotten it's there. That's why people treat you like a second thought, because your unconscious is still telling them, I am not enough. But you can change that story, not by yelling louder, not by pretending to be confident, but by returning to the core of who you are and rewriting the scripts that shaped you. The hardest question you'll ever ask yourself. Let me ask you something that might sting. Why are you still trying to prove your worth to people who don't see it? It's not a rhetorical question. It's the question that will change your life. Maybe you've spent years trying to be the perfect partner, the dependable friend, the loyal child, the one who never messes up, never complains, never asks for anything. But what has it brought you? Temporary approval, occasional praise, but never real lasting respect. Because people pleasers are rarely respected. They're admired for their kindness, appreciated for their usefulness, but they are not valued for who they are, only for what they offer. The persona trap. Jung's warning. Carl Jung called this the danger of the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted. It's a necessary part of life. Yes, we all play roles. But when you forget it's a mask, when you identify with it too deeply, you lose touch with your core. You stop being real and start being liked. But you don't need to be liked by everyone. You need to be seen by yourself. Coming up next, and that's exactly what we'll explore in the next part of this video, the trap of external validation. Why trying to prove yourself will only keep you small, and why the first step to reclaiming your dignity is not trying harder, but remembering who you were before the world convinced you to forget. Because this isn't just about respect, it's about self-liberation. And it begins now. If this message resonated with you, let me know in the comments. I'm done hiding. Let that be your first act of courage. And if you're ready to go deeper into this journey of self-respect and emotional freedom, keep watching. You're not broken. You're just remembering. And that changes everything. We ended the last section with a question, one that haunts more lives than we realize. Why are you still trying to prove your worth to people who never truly valued it? And now we begin to uncover the deeper truth, because somewhere along the way you lost connection with who you really are. When we over-identify with the image we think we should be, the agreeable one, the reliable one, the flawless one, we don't just lose sight of our needs, we lose ourselves. We become what Jung would call a polite ghost, present but not alive, seen but not respected, heard but never fully felt. The mask that silences the soul, the desire to be accepted, is deeply human. There's nothing wrong with wanting to belong, but there's a quiet danger in letting that desire become the compass of your identity. When your sense of worth is constantly rising and falling based on how others respond to you, one compliment makes you glow, one criticism breaks you, you become a hostage to their gaze. You live for approval. You bend, adapt, overextend, hoping someone will finally say you're enough. And when they don't, you work even harder. You become useful, indispensable, the one who shows up, the one who never complains, the one who gives even when there's nothing left to give. But let me ask you, is it working? Because here's the brutal truth. The more you try to prove your worth, the more you're telling the world that you don't believe in it. What self-respect actually looks like. People who truly respect themselves don't need to prove anything. They don't beg for attention. They don't trade favors for affection. They don't pretend to be someone else just to avoid conflict. They are who they are, and that is enough. They don't fear displeasing others because they understand that sometimes being disliked is the price of being authentic, of living in integrity. That kind of self-respect doesn't show up overnight. It's built over time through choices. And the first step to reclaiming it, it's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's one small, terrifying word. No. Rebuilding the respect you lost for yourself. If you've spent your life waiting for others to validate you, it's because no one ever taught you that your own validation is the only one that matters. And rebuilding that inner respect, perhaps lost years ago, or maybe never fully formed, requires a bold shift. You have to stop asking, how can I get people to treat me better? And start asking, why have I allowed myself to be treated this way? You don't need to fight for a seat at someone else's table. You need to realize you were the table all along. Because once you respect yourself, the gaze of others stops being a threat. It becomes just that, a reflection. a mirror, a response to how you hold yourself. But make no mistake, this requires a choice, a conscious, difficult, sometimes painful choice. The first act of self-respect is saying no. It's deceptively simple saying no. But for someone caught in the cycle of approval, it feels like a betrayal. You've been taught to say yes, to be agreeable, to avoid conflict at all costs. You've been conditioned to believe that saying no makes you selfish, cold, ungrateful. So every time someone crosses a line, you stay silent. Every time you feel hurt, you rush to forgive even if no apology was given. Every time something eats at your soul, you swallow it. You call it compassion, maturity, kindness. But deep down, you know it's not kindness. It's erasure. You are disappearing from your own life. Respect is not asked for. It's imposed. Not through force, not through violence, but through clarity. Respect is not begged for. It is not negotiated. It is declared through action. And that declaration often begins with no. No to tasks that drain you. No to relationships that deplete you. No to invitations that dishonor you. No to a life that treats you as an afterthought. But to say no, you must first break free from guilt. And guilt will come. Every time you say no to someone used to exploiting your yes, guilt will try to pull you back into that familiar space of silence and submission. It will whisper, you're being selfish, you're disappointing them. But listen closely, that's not your higher self speaking. That's your old self, your conditioned self trying to survive. Carl Jung and the confrontation within. Carl Jung reminds us that the path of individuation, the journey of becoming your whole true self, begins with confrontation. You have to confront the version of you that learned to survive by saying yes. That version who believed love had to be earned. That safety meant silence. That approval was life itself. But here's the cost of keeping that version alive: your value, your dignity, your identity. Do you want to be respected? Then you must begin by choosing yourself. Say no where you once said yes. Withdraw from people who only come close to take. Decline invitations that feel more like obligations. Speak the truth even when your voice shakes. And watch what happens. You'll notice something fascinating. The first people to get angry will be the ones who benefited the most from your silence. Why? Because your boundaries expose their behavior. Your no illuminates their entitlement and romance. Your self-respect mirrors their lack of it. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, it will feel lonely at first. But it is a necessary pain, a birth pain. Because every time you say no to what diminishes you, you are saying yes to what empowers you. And that yes, it's the beginning of your rebirth. Your voice, your power, your authority. That single act of saying no can ignite a cascade of transformation. You start to see your time as sacred, your energy as worthy, your boundaries as non-negotiable. You begin to reclaim the parts of yourself you gave away too easily, your voice, your space, your power. And slowly you stop living by permission. You stop waiting for someone else to tell you you're worthy because you already know. But there's still one more layer, one that lies even deeper. It lives in the shadows of your psyche and the parts of yourself you've denied, repressed, and buried. In the next part, we'll go there. We'll explore how your shadow, the hidden parts of your personality, keeps you stuck in cycles of submission, why you allow what clearly hurts you, why you tolerate the intolerable, and how to reclaim the pieces of your soul you have been trained to fear. Because before you demand respect from the world, you must reclaim your power from within. In the last part, we explored how saying no becomes the first act of reclaiming your voice. But what if something deeper is stopping you? Something hidden yet powerful that pulls you back every time you try to step forward. This is where we meet the shadow. Let's return for a moment to that version of you, the one who learned long ago that being seen was dangerous, that speaking up would lead to rejection, punishment, or shame. Maybe you were the child who needed affection, but when you reached out, you were ignored. And so you adapted. You became agreeable, quiet, invisible. Not to thrive, but to survive. And as you grew older, you wore that invisibility like a second skin. You smiled when you wanted to cry. You helped others even when you were crumbling. You said yes when your soul was screaming no. All the while, your truth, your anger, your power, your voice was pushed deeper and deeper underground. But here's the thing, what's buried doesn't die. Carl Jung said, what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. The shadow, the part of you that holds all the emotions you've repressed, doesn't disappear. It waits. It lives in the basement of your psyche, feeding on silence, growing stronger with every boundary you betray. That moment when your throat closes up right as you want to speak, that whisper of "don't make a scene" when someone crosses a line, that's your shadow. It's the one that sabotages you the moment you try to assert yourself. The one that whispers, "better not. It's not worth it. Stay quiet." But is it really not worth it? Or is it that your inner child still believes speaking up equals danger? Think about it. Really think. How many times have you wanted to say something but swallowed your truth instead? How many times have you sacrificed your dignity just to keep the peace, even though it was never really peaceful for you? How many times have you let someone cross a line and then walked away feeling dirty, disrespected, invisible? This is not just politeness. It's not emotional maturity. It's not keeping things calm. It's self-abandonment. It's submission disguised as self-control. And it's coming from a part of you that still thinks it must shrink to survive. You tolerate the intolerable because you forgot what you're worth. But that forgetfulness isn't accidental. It was taught. You were conditioned to believe that love must be earned with silence, that relationships require self-erasure, and that anger is always ugly. So you buried your fire. You locked away your firmness. You labeled your strength as too much. And now as an adult, that old conditioning is still running the show. Like outdated software installed in your unconscious, it plays on a loop. Don't be difficult. Just let it go. Don't cause a scene. Be the bigger person. But here's the truth. You're not being the bigger person. You're being the disappeared person. New situations. Same old story. You might change friends, change jobs, even change cities, but the same feeling follows you, being overlooked, taken for granted, disrespected. Why be? Because the root issue isn't out there, it's in here. Until you face the parts of yourself you've been taught to hide, your assertiveness, your healthy anger, your need for recognition, you will keep inviting people who reinforce your invisibility. Want a real-world example? Let's get practical. Think of the time you did a huge favor for someone, poured your energy, your time, your heart into helping them. And deep down, maybe you hoped they would finally see your value. But all you got in return, indifference. Or worse, more demands. Did you speak up, or did you stay silent, stewing in resentment? Or maybe someone disrespected you, publicly, a coworker, a friend, a partner, and you laughed it off, telling yourself, it's not worth it. Let me be clear. That kind of silence is not strength. It's fear in disguise, and it comes straight from the shadow. Jung warned us, what you don't accept in yourself will control. Your repressed anger doesn't disappear. It becomes passive behavior, bottled up resentment or chronic anxiety. Buried strength doesn't dissolve. It becomes fear. Your ignored voice becomes a knot in your throat, a burning in your chest, a tension in your jaw. And slowly it becomes your normal. You keep waiting for someone else to finally treat you right while refusing to treat yourself with the honesty, courage, and love that would make that respect possible. You don't allow yourself to be seen. So how can you expect others to see you? But there is a way out. It's not through more people-pleasing. It's not through better arguments or louder demands. It's through the integration of your shadow. You have to reclaim what you were taught to repress, not to become harsh, but to become whole. You were never meant to be soft all the time. You were never meant to be passive to be loved. You were meant to be authentic, and that includes your anger, your boundaries, your sacred fire. So where do you start? Right here. With practice. With conscious daily decisions to act like someone who matters. Because if you keep waiting to feel worthy before you act, you'll be waiting forever. Here are 5 powerful practices to begin rebuilding respect from the inside out. Shini 1. Let discomfort be your compass. When something doesn't feel right, pause, don't justify, don't overthink, don't excuse their behavior. Ask yourself, if I deeply respected myself, what would I do right now? Then follow through. That's your truth. Listen to it. 2. Stop explaining yourself. You don't owe anyone 3 paragraphs for every decision. When you over-explain, you signal guilt and insecurity. You give away your power. Practice saying things like, that doesn't work for me. I'm not available. I'm not comfortable with that. And then stop talking. Silence is your ally. 3. Prioritize yourself in your schedule. Look at your calendar. Where are you on it? If you don't carve out time for yourself, your rest, your creativity, your healing, then you are betraying yourself before the world even gets a chance to. Block off time. Make it sacred. Treat it like a meeting with someone important because it is. Or replace reactivity with pause. When someone disrespects you, resist the urge to explode or implode. Instead, breathe, then respond. Say something like, "This doesn't sit right with me. I don't appreciate being spoken to like that. Let's revisit this when we're both calmer." Respectful firmness is a language the world understands. When you speak it fluently, they listen. 5. Surround yourself with those who maybe you look around. Do your relationships nourish you or deplete you? Start paying attention to how you feel around people. Do you feel inspired, respected, or used and unseen? Begin distancing yourself from those who only take, because when you start respecting your own energy, you naturally stop letting others waste it. These practices may seem simple, but what makes them hard isn't the action. It's the old story in your mind that says you have to earn your place, that you must be small to be safe, that you have to be useful to be loved. It's time to retire that story, because respect is not something you wait for. It's something you build moment by moment, action by action. And in the next part, we'll talk about the final obstacle that keeps you from doing just that, the fear of being alone. Emotional dependence is the last chain that holds you back from your full self. And once you break it, everything changes. In the last part, we talked about setting boundaries and reclaiming your inner authority. But even after doing all the right things, saying no, speaking up, taking space, why do some patterns still pull you back? Because underneath the surface, there's one final barrier that quietly holds you hostage, the fear of being alone. Let's return to the last tool: surrounding yourself with people who uplift you. On the surface, it sounds simple. Walk away from what depletes you and seek out what nourishes you. But beneath that simplicity is a profound truth many refuse to face. The quality of your life reflects the people you allow into it. Ask yourself honestly, are you in environments where your value is acknowledged, or have you settled for being someone's convenience instead of their priority? Take a closer look. When you enter a room, do you feel seen or simply tolerated? Do your conversations energize you or drain you? The truth is, respect doesn't just come from what you do. It comes from where you place yourself. And that means learning to walk away quietly, confidently, from those who only notice you when they need something. Because those who truly value your presence will feel your absence. And those who never noticed, never truly saw you in the first place. This isn't about cutting ties out of anger. It's about choosing yourself with love. The journey back to self-respect isn't a dramatic revolt. It's made up of small, repeated, intentional acts of dignity. And here's the truth that most people avoid. These steps are not hard because they're complex. They're hard because they challenge the emotional conditioning you have carried for decades. You were taught that love is something you must earn, that approval is something you must chase, that peace means never upsetting anyone else, even if it costs you your voice. That pattern has been running so long it probably feels like your personality. But it's not who you are. It's who you learn to be. And unlearning it, rewriting your emotional script, takes repetition, courage, and patience. But it's worth it. Because the more consistently you respect yourself in the small moments, the more you become someone who simply cannot be disrespected in the big ones. But let's be honest, there's one final thread that keeps you stuck. Even when you set boundaries, even when you speak with clarity, even when you begin to honor your needs, there's still a force that pulls you back into the old patterns. And that force is the fear of being alone. Because emotional dependency, the quiet aching need to be seen, chosen, wanted, is the last chain that keeps you from living freely and fully. And unless you break it, you'll keep compromising your dignity in exchange for proximity. There comes a moment in every journey when blame no longer helps. You've spent enough time waiting for people to change, to finally recognize you, to finally treat you with the respect you have been craving. But here's the wake-up call: the world is not blind. It's simply responding to your signals. If you keep showing up last on your own list, why would others move you to the top of theirs? If you silence yourself to avoid tension, why would others make space for your truth? If you accept crumbs, why would anyone offer you more? That sounds harsh, but sometimes the truth needs to be. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The disrespect, the imbalance, the repeating cycles, they're not bad luck. They're not always toxic people. They're reflections. Reflections of your inner relationship with yourself. You've been looking outward trying to fix the circumstances, but the only real transformation begins within. And no, that doesn't mean becoming distant or heartless or unreachable. It means no longer begging for love disguised as obedience. It means refusing to twist yourself into someone else's version of acceptable. It means no longer sacrificing your authenticity for a seat at someone else's table. You must make peace with solitude, because only those who are whole within themselves can bear the silence of their own company. And only those who can stand strong in that silence can truly choose who they want beside them. Everyone else is just trying to fill a void. And here's what no one tells you. Everything you seek in others, love, safety, worth, peace must exist in you first, or it will never feel secure when it comes from someone else. Until you respect yourself enough to be alone rather than mistreated, you will always attract what is familiar, not what is right. From this point forward, you have a choice. When someone crosses a boundary, you can stay silent and repeat the story, or you can speak up and begin to rewrite it. And no, that doesn't require aggression. It doesn't require drama. It just requires truth. Because when you truly respect yourself, everything about you shifts: your voice, your body language, your energy, and the world responds. Suddenly, people listen when you speak. They pause when you set a limit. They notice when you walk away. Why? Because your self-respect becomes visible, palpable, unmistakable. Respect is not something you ask for. It's something you embody. And once it lives in you, it radiates through everything you do. You no longer need to fight for your place. You no longer need to prove your value. You become the proof. So if this message spoke to a part of you that's been waiting quietly, comment below. I choose to respect myself. Let this be more than a video you watched. Let it be a turning point. And let it be the beginning of a new standard, a new story written by you. And if you're ready to keep walking this path of self-reclamation, watch the next video. It is just as vital as this one. Go deep. You're worth knowing, and you deserve to finally come home to yourself.